it was a common saying, you know, you pay peanuts, you get monkeys. I think the support from them to upskill and make sure we can put in some really good quality coaches, having Herrick come on board was a big win for us. You always need more money because it's a costly sport, and high performance, the return on investment isn't great.
In special over here in Singapore, our school is very, very important over here. It takes a lot of time, and that interferes with what we need to build a good gymnast. And this is the problem that has to be solved. If this will not be solved, the level of course will go up now and then. A special kid will always be there, and if you treat your special kid very good, then she can go to a very high level, but it never will be a structured level.
I'm actually working part-time, yeah, so to fund...
so you're working, you're studying and you're training?
Yes, that's right. So it's a bit of a challenge, but I take it in stride. So I do learn from these things, and most me as a person, because if you just do gymnastics alone, sometimes it gets a bit in your own bubble. You can't really see much, so you interact with clients and different people. You actually do learn a lot, and they're quite surprised. Like, wow, you do all this, you train, you study, and you work. Wow, that's pretty interesting. But yeah,
without any probable major warm-up events, do you see that as a major disadvantage to your chances at the games, even though we might be able to simulate similar scenarios here?
I don't see that as a disadvantage. I guess, well, you can see it both ways, but if that were the case, I would just take it as an advantage, because then I can save my body for Tokyo instead of having to go increase my training load to prepare for competitions and then come back down slightly. So it's more of a level increase instead of like going up and down.
Okay. Hi Singapore, you're watching episode 16 of SG Sports Uncut. I'm your host Raj Kumar, and Uncut is a show that brings you closer to our Team Singapore athletes and officials. Today we throw the spotlight on gymnastics. It's been 15 years since Singapore last won an individual gold in the sport of gymnastics at the SEA Games. That was by Nicole Tay in the floor event exercise back in 2005. Since then, the gold medal drought has continued till today. But in light of the emerging group of young gymnasts, just how long will it take for them to medal consistently at the regional competitions? For that and much more, let's find out from our friends from Singapore Gymnastics. Hi everyone, welcome to episode 16 of SG Sports Uncut. General Manager of Singapore Gymnastics, Karen Norden, will start with you, and it's 2020, a brand new start to a different decade. Thus, one of the main questions is, how long will it take for Singapore's gymnasts to medal at the Olympic Games?
Multi-million-dollar question. I'd be a rich woman if I could answer that correctly. But look, when you look back at places like Great Britain, the Netherlands, Netherlands are a perfect example. 2016, they won their first gold medal on balance beam. Now that was a system that was set up 20 years it took them, but for them the advantage is they had a really strong club culture and a very strong coaching culture as well, and sporting culture. So for Singapore, I think it's a little way off. We've still got to get that culture happening. Make sure that sports are number one. It's not like Australia where we're sort of very fanatical about sport. So if we can build sport into the culture, and I think another 15, 20 years, we'll see someone on the podium.
So you said the Dutch took about 20 years before it actually bore fruit in 2016?
Yeah, correct.
Wow.
So about 2000, I think they started.
So to put it very simply, at this moment in time, we don't have the level of top caliber gymnasts to podium at the games?
We've got the athletes. What we don't have is the infrastructure and the alignment between all the parties. I think one of the things what we really want to aim for is to have athletes qualifying for the Olympics every 4 years. Right. So that's the first step, and then from there you can get that culture, the mindset that we can do it. I think one of the things when Sze En did make it, it was like, wow, we can really do it. So I think we need to make sure that people believe that we can qualify people to the Olympics, and then it's the next step.
That's right. Tan Sze En, of course, 6 months ago qualified for the Tokyo Olympics. We'll be speaking to her in just a short while. Joining us as well is head coach of the Women's Artistic Gymnastics Squad, Harriet Beltman. Harriet, would it be fair to say that our Singaporean athletes are just not built the same way the Russians, the Chinese, the American gymnasts, or even some of the European countries, in terms of training from a very, very young age, or even the support from parents and family?
Body-wise, it's not fair to say that they are not the same as a Russian or an American or whatever, because a body is a body. Yeah, but based on systems, there is a big difference, that's for sure. The big countries, they start younger, they have a better club culture, they have a more expanded way of supporting their gymnasts in every sense, not only in the gym but also outside of the gym. Yeah, and that of course is different compared to the situation over here, that's for sure.
Okay, you've trained in other countries around the world. What do you reckon are two key factors that we are still lacking in Singapore today in order to take our gymnasts to the next level?
The first is a balanced structure. There is a structure, but there is disbalance in the structure.
Disbalance in the
In the structure. And secondly is a better and stronger club culture.
Okay. Club as in private clubs?
A club for me is a club. I don't make a difference between a private club and a club, because I know the system in America has private clubs, and we in Holland only have, well, it's not non-profit clubs or non-private clubs. But the depth of clubs and the number of gymnasts and the let's say the average level of gymnasts in a club, if this goes up, well, then your national level also will go up.
That's right, because the pool is widened
of
in terms of talent.
Yeah.
Joining us today, Terry Tay is a renowned local gymnast with 3 SEA Games campaigns under your belt. So as an athlete, Terry, do you feel that enough is being done here for you and your counterparts to train and raise your game to another level?
I always say thank you for all the support we get, because I've been in the sport with Singapore for over 10 years actually, in the national team. So I've received a lot of support over the past decade. Definitely more can always be done, but to see what we can work with, we have now. So to continue training consistently and hard, focusing on my focus as an athlete, that's more important than seeing what we can't control, the externalities. So focus on what we have for myself.
So what do you feel is the biggest hurdle in your quest to becoming a better athlete, worthy of winning medals consistently at the international stage?
I guess it probably distractions. In Singapore, there's so many things going on. So for myself, I'm still studying.
Right.
I'm in my second final year of university. I'm working part-time. I'm training. So I have to balance all these things together. In Singapore, it's a bit of a juggle. So to find the key balance, how to clock in the number of hours to keep consistently improving. To working towards your goal amidst all of these distractions.
It's quite the same story, similar story with a number of athletes who have to juggle either their studies or work together with the sport. Just as I posed the question to Karen a few minutes ago, when could we possibly see a Singaporean gymnast medal at the Olympics? She says probably another 15-20 years. What do you think?
Well, in the men's team, there are some pretty promising juniors. So children range from Paris 2024 to qualify firstly, even to, I think in America, is it New York or Los Angeles? The Olympics in 2028. So they're actually looking at that, qualifying for both.
Right.
And
the one in 2024.
Yeah, that's in Paris. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
2028.
Yeah.
2028. Yeah. Okay.
For our men.
For the juniors.
Yeah. So you're saying we have to qualify first. Obviously, you qualify first, but 2028 could be
the chance at having a podium.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Coming back to Karen, do you feel that your NSA, Singapore Gymnastics, deserves more funding and financial resources, or are you comfortable with the numbers that you have now annually?
We do get a lot of support from Sport SG. They've been doing a lot of work behind the scenes on making sure that the actual NSA is stronger governance-wise. They put more money into management. They put more money into coaching, which when I arrived 2.5-3 years ago, it was a common saying, you pay peanuts, you get monkeys. I think the support from them to upskill and make sure we can put in some really good quality coaches, having Herrick come on board was a big win for us. You always need more money because it's a costly sport, and high performance, the return on investment isn't great. So for us, we need a facility. Definitely, we need a home for our gymnasts that's got the calibre that we can put them all together. The coaches can learn and bounce off each other. For us, that's probably the biggest thing, the support we need. Continued support with good governance with our board, aligning everybody from Sport SG through to the board, through to the management, to the coaching team and athletes. I think that's the key. You could throw all the money you like, but we could actually not be very efficient and effective spending it. I think we need to be more efficient and effective. We do get quite a bit of money. I just don't think we use it smartly enough, and we're not aligned with everybody.
Yeah. I'll come back to the money question in a few moments, but you said you need your own facility.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
At the moment, we've got our men's training in the Bishan, which is a substandard...
Bishan Stadium.
Yeah,
Bishan Sports Hall.
Yeah, and it's a community-based facility, so we share it. So the boys have community-based athletes running across and in their way regularly. The girl, which is dangerous.
You mean you don't close
No.
the gyms, your training sessions are not closed off to the public?
No, we have other people using the facility. Not ideal. The girls are in CCAB, that's Ministry of Education. We've been really lucky to have that facility, but it's not ideal. The ventilation there is not conducive. It's not okay right now, but June, July, August, you know, the amount of repetitions that the girls need to do needs to go down because of safety. The rhythmic girls are at 2 to 3 different venues as well. So while they're at OCBC here, we can't fit all of them. And for our coaches...
So there is some training at the OCBC arena?
Yeah, but that's just for our rhythmic athletes. So if we put them all together, it's more efficient and effective for everybody, and the coaches can then learn off each other and the athletes can learn off each other, and we can get a real high-performance culture. At the moment, it's disjointed, and it's really difficult because we've got 3-4 different centres we're trying to manage. It's not efficient and effective.
Okay. So coming back to what you said before, we talked about the standalone facility. So money no enough is your answer. Famous saying, money no enough in Singapore. Then how much does your NSA truly require to handle the programs for the schools, public, youth development, athletes welfare, overseas training stints? I mean, what is the magic number that we are looking at? 1 million, 2 million?
It'd be around 3 to 4 million because we really want to get into schools. So that's one of the things we've started to work with Active SG and Sport SG on, is how we get into schools. We want to be in every kindergarten, gymnastics in every kindergarten. We want to be in schools. So that's a lot of infrastructure we need to build through the clubs and coaches. We actually want the clubs delivering. So as we say, we need a really strong club culture so our high performance becomes better. So we need money to support the club culture, to get more coaches on board. We've got an education framework we've been developing, but that takes money and time as well. And then for me, it's changing the perception that sport can be a career. You can be a sport management, you can be a sports coach, but it's a career you can stay in. A lot of countries have an MBA in sport management. And that's one of the things that I've done. And you can also go and become a sports coach and have a university degree. I think if we start to do some of these things in Singapore, that's bigger picture, but that can really help the mindset of making it a career path.
Okay. So, like you said, your wish list is probably $3 to $4 million annually. So the next
and a facility.
The next question would be, what will you be doing to justify that wish list, and what are you promising to deliver to the powers that be who grant the funding?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think one of the ones is the Active SG Academy program that will be rolling out in April. In Senko will be the first. We want to be in 15 centres by March 2021. And then all kindergartens by 2022. So that's a big task, and we're prepared to work in partnership with Active SG. We think we can bookend as well, because gentle gymnastics, we need to do more weight-bearing activities, more spatial awareness as people get older. They're the things that they really need to do to prevent the climbing health budget that we have. So we think we can bookend gymnastics. You start here, go anywhere, and then we can also do the benefits of health with the older senior athletes. And then we know we can perform. There's a lot of medals. There's 21 medals that you can actually win at an Olympics in gymnastics.
Wow.
So if you have some talented athletes, which we do have, and we support them all the way through the pathway, there are medals there.
Okay. Coming back to Coach Harriet, is money the only factor to this $6 million question of when can we see a medal-winning gymnast at the Olympics, or is it more than money?
If this was the case, it would be simple. Just put money on the table and wait, and your medal will be there. So it's not that simple. Money, of course, is important, but the most important thing for me as a coach is a balanced structure. And the structure means that you have everything that's needed to get on a higher level is already there, is ready to be used. That for me is the most important thing. And the two things in special over here in Singapore are school is very, very important over here. It takes a lot of time, and that interferes with what we need to build a good gymnast. And this is the problem that has to be solved. If this will not be solved, the level, of course, will go up now and then. A special kid will always be there. And if you treat your special kid very good, then she can go to a very high level, but it never will be a structurized level. And that is, and in this case, school is very important. So your structure must be making possible that the kids train twice a day. Internationally, all big countries train twice a day, and we only train once a day. And that means there is no balance. Kids are tensed. There is a lot of pressure on them. There is not enough time to recover, and that makes one of the most important things to change.
You're presently working with our national artistic gymnasts. What is your assessment of their overall talents as of today?
Well, like I said before, talent is everywhere, so also in Singapore, but you have to build it, and that takes time, money, and structure.
Okay. Terry, is the bar set so high that none of our current crop of athletes can come close to a top 5 finish at the Asian Games or the Olympics?
I don't think so, because actually to qualify for the games already, you have to be of the top 6. The mark, so you get a top 6 score. So that will actually put you on the same par, on the same league as world-class athletes like from China, Japan, etc. So qualifying for the games already in itself is part of the process, which puts you on a similar benchmark. So to hit a podium finish, the top 5 percentile, that's how you perform, and together the system, the structure, and the daily stresses. How do you cope with that and push yourself without distractions amidst all of that? You have to focus on that when you have already qualified, and the fine-tuning towards that process and the podium finish goal, I would say.
Okay. So what about for yourself? I mean, you won at the SEA Games level and at the Commonwealth Youth Games. Now, at the age of 26, are you still hoping to go one higher than those 2 championships?
So for a start, it will be the SEA Games. Next year's SEA Games is actually pretty fast. It's a year, it seems so, in Vietnam. So I've only won a team medal, Singapore's first historic team medal in 2015 in Singapore. So I hope to have a podium finish on the individual apparatus final. And beyond that, yes, I would like to medal or at least qualify, finish top 5 at the Asian and Commonwealth Games level.
Wow. Okay. Speaking of the SEA Games, you just touched on it. You were there competing in Manila in the vault just under 3 months ago. How would you sum up your performance?
Well, honestly,
I was there.
It was a pretty rough outing.
We'll look at the footage. I mean, as you talk over it.
Wasn't up to as I expected. Preparation was good. I could say not perfect, but close to perfect. Just that it didn't work out as expected. So for me, just taking back what I learned from the experience, because I've been in this sport for a while. I believe how we bounce back from that is more important, because it can shape how you see your future. Like if I want to medal on the apparatus final in Vietnam SEA Games, or even qualify top 5, it's very important to take this as different milestones to work towards that, not as a setback.
So would you know what is the mark, or what do you have? What kind of points do you have to achieve in order to try and medal at the SEA Games?
After every Olympic cycle, the score, the code changes. So you have to see how people perform. But so usually you'll be able to gauge from certain World Cups or certain after the Olympic cycle as well. So after Tokyo, you're able to see in the first few months of World Cups, and you can gauge from there how our various competitors are doing in Southeast Asia or the Commonwealth area or Asian Games.
Okay. Herrick, even though you're the women's artistic coach, I assume you would have seen Terry's performances in Manila, and if you did, your thoughts, please.
No, I didn't see them, because I was in the training gym when he did his final and his overall competitions. But of course I know, because some days we train together, and the boys are promising. That's looking good. They're working hard. They have a good coach. So, like he said, going up step by step, and they're okay.
Okay. What about your own athletes? How many competed in the artistic discipline, and how did they fare overall?
I started in August. From August until now we did no competition, not at all. The reason is after I did a competition with Nadine in Europe and with Sze En, World Cup, and then I was part of the supporting team for Sze En to go to the Olympics, these are World Championships in Stuttgart. After that I returned, did my first serious part of block of training, and after this I decided to do no competitions for a while because our juniors are far behind to let's say an international standard. So you have to make time up somewhere, and I decided not to do any competitions and only train for a bigger score, a bigger routine, so they are more competitive in a few months.
Okay. So you had 5 artistic gymnasts who competed at the SEA Games. What were your targets for them in terms of a medal?
I was there only with one female athlete. Yeah, for me SEA Games was an unknown territory because I'd never been there. I have to just have an idea about what the level was. After arriving, doing some training, it was clear that the girl we were with had a medal chance on more than one apparatus. At the end she only made beam final, and beam is to be or not to be. Yeah? It's always, you can win, everybody can win beam, but you have to stay on it, and that didn't happen, so the medal was out of reach.
Okay. Karen, we sent a 9-member squad to the SEA Games in Manila. Gymnastics delivered 1 bronze medal in the horizontal bar for men through Sean Yo. Your summary of the team at the SEA Games.
Yeah, it was a really tough campaign for us because it started out that we had an ambition to have 7 podium finishes, but that was like 2 years ago, and it was before the competition program was released, and the Philippine program was very skewed towards one male athlete because they had a champion there. So there was the team awards that we normally medal in for both men's artistic, women's artistic and rhythmic were taken out, so that's 3 of the campaign. They also took out their overall medals, except for male. But then I think a week and a half before we left for the Philippines, they put the women's artistic all-around medal back in because the International Federation pushed a gender equality issue, which would have been terrific for us if we'd known in advance, but we hadn't prepared our athletes for an all-around. We were just going for medal, focusing on a medal on an apparatus. So it was a tough campaign because of the changing of the competition program for us, and you know, you don't want to put everything into the SEA Games as such because you're looking at bigger pictures of Asian Games and Asian Championships. For the women's artistic, we had 2 really amazing medal chances with Sze En and Nadine, and for us that their injuries was probably the most disappointing. They were just as disappointed, but for us, I knew what Nadine was ready. She was ready to compete. We were really excited with how she was looking, and so was Sze En. So they were our 2 medal chances. But don't take away from Sean. For me, that was probably the sweetest medal. He went to 2017 SEA Games, was qualified to win, and injured himself in podium, and then so to bounce back from that. For us, I think that was probably a really sweet medal for us. I think the whole team, we were pretty chuffed, weren't we? I think it was like a team medal. It didn't matter that there was no team event for us. Sean's standing there. Sean's done it tough as well. Hasn't been an easy road for him. So I think, yeah, while it was only 1 medal, the team atmosphere that we had there was really positive. I think we've got some great coaches, and we've got some really good role models of athletes that are coming through that can take the next generation on.
So taking all of what you said into consideration, on the eve of the start of the campaign, what was in your mind when, in terms of medals? You knew that your top 2 were out, and then the team events were.
Sean's medal. That was the one that we definitely knew. We were banking on that. I think definitely Shane, we knew, had a chance of at least making 2 finals and medaling, and Terry, because Terry had performed at Asian Championships and placed 5th, you know, in finals. So for Terry, it just wasn't his day at that time. And as he said, you know, we've done a lot of soul searching and around that. But we also had Lincoln on high bar, and he was a highlight for the audience because he does a lot of release moves. So everyone's oh wow. So to have Lincoln also, he's done it tough. You know, these guys have done it tough. You know, financially, everything through injury. Lincoln goes against the odds because of his size as well, which is, for me, I love to see people, you know, get out and break the norms.
So looking back, what was your most significant takeaway from the 2019 SEA Games?
We do need to continue with our depth. We need to really look after our athletes. So one of the things we've worked with Sport SG on is getting an athlete performance manager. It's a physio that comes on board, looks after our athletes, connects them to all the sports science, sports medicines, because it's not just about the physical, it's also about the mental, and you can't take that away. So having someone that will connect all the sports science with the athletes, with the coaches, with us, it's those 1%ers that make a difference, and you can't overlook those. So we've got some really good coaches, we're getting things in place, but having someone just monitor the athletes, you know, let us know that they're not quite, you know, there's some things bothering them. I think, you know, sometimes you find out afterwards and it's too late and we couldn't put things into place then.
Okay. Terry, for the Manila SEA Games, would you say that you had ample time to prepare in Singapore, or did you have to juggle your studies and training at the same time?
Yes, I did have ample time because we had a progressive build-up.
Yeah.
So we had like control tests. So control tests meaning that we have a full suit preparation, style of hair, wear the gymnastic suit, and we actually have judges come down to simulate mock competition. So we had a lot of that in Singapore.
Right.
Yeah. So the build-up there towards when we arrived in Manila, so it was very good. So we had ample time in Singapore to prepare, and to just put aside distractions. I actually took a break, or I arranged my school schedule such that we could train 2 times a day. And yeah, we had a pretty good build up towards SEA Games in Manila.
Okay. You're presently not under the SPECS program or Sports Excellence program by the Singapore Sports Institute. Thus, have you had to spend your own money to train overseas or buy equipment and gear and other benefits which the SPECS athletes are entitled to?
Yes, definitely. So as mentioned earlier, I'm actually working part-time. Yeah, so to fund...
so you're working, you're studying and you're training?
Yes, that's right. So it's a bit of a challenge, but I take it in stride. So I do learn from these things, and most me as a person. Because if you just do gymnastics alone, sometimes it gets a bit in your own bubble. You can't really see much, so you interact with clients and different people. You actually do learn a lot. And they're quite surprised, like, wow, you do all this, you train, you study and you work. Wow, that's pretty interesting. But yeah, so you do have support, but perhaps it would be nice, maybe.
Okay, so what would you say is the ideal scenario for you if you aim to deliver, like you say, to win an individual goal possibly at the SEA Games or even higher? What is the ideal scenario that you would hope to be in a situation?
I like to train full time actually. Yeah, so we call it somewhat like a dream because I'm already halfway into my school. I'm graduating next year. So yeah, I would like to train full time. Okay.
Herrick, in terms of training facilities and venues, I'm assuming the current resources, we touched about it just now, Bishan Sports Hall and OCBC Arena, and I think CCAB as well. From the fact that you've trained around the world, what is the situation in Singapore?
This gym is an average gym we work in, average for, let's say, young kids coming up, learning. But if you're more advanced, your level is higher, you need a bit more than what is there at the moment. Yeah, so it's for the time being it's okay, but if you give me a ship of money, I know what I would like to change.
Okay. What are 1 or 2 grievances which your artistic gymnasts are still complaining or even have to deal with today?
Well, the biggest thing is the lack of time to recover. That is the most important factor for the time being. They have,
because they're studying.
Yeah, they have to go to school. They run off to school at 7:30 in the morning. Then after this, they run to the gym, do a 4.5 hour training, what is really long, and then go home, eat, do some homework, sleep, and do it again and again and again and again. So the balance in recovery and loading, there is hardly no balance. So I have to bring the balance in my program. That it's meaning I have to spend some hours in doing simple things, basic things, and not being really busy with preparing kids on a higher level. That's because of the lack of balance. And if you do double training a day, then that's easier, much more easy. But you need a system for this, because I understand school is important.
Then how do the athletes in the Netherlands, the young athletes, how do they study and train twice a day?
Well, give me 20 minutes and I'll explain to you. No, it's basically it's simple. We have all over the country we have 27 high performance schools. And a high performance school is for identified kids. If you're identified as a talent, you can go to this school. That means the school adjusts the program to your wishes. Yeah, and that means of course that you cannot finish your school at the same speed as a normal student. But there is one guarantee, and it's a very important guarantee for our parents. They guarantee you will finish your school later, but at the same level as you should have if you were not being a high performance gymnast. So and that makes a lot of parents being willing to, okay, let's do, because at the end it doesn't matter if you start your working career at 22 or 26. Yeah, so that is the big difference. And in every high performance, every country on a high level in gymnastics has a more or less the same kind of system.
Interesting. Karen, the COVID-19 virus has affected several sports events and programs here in Singapore. Perhaps you can bring us up to speed on how your NSA is coping with this.
Yeah, in the National Training Centre we implemented quite a few strategies straight away. So I think it was the weekend, it was before it even went to orange, we were already putting in temperature taking. We'd already asked everybody to declare. So we'd put in quite a few strategies before we even had to. For our competitions, we did cancel one of the competitions for our rhythmic athletes, and that was just right at the beginning when everything was a little bit unsure of what was happening everywhere. So it wasn't a key milestone event, so they didn't travel to that. We did cancel our National Championships, which would have been happening right now in March, as soon as it went to orange, and we cancelled our awards dinner. Okay. So we've done that. Singapore Open is in June, where we haven't made any firm decision, but as people start to say do not travel to Singapore, it becomes harder to work through that. We also do have Asian Championships, which is a qualifier for the Olympics, the last qualifier actually, and also a test event in Tokyo in May. We were just talking about what will happen if you have to come back and have 14 days stay at home. Well, there's no chance that we're going to take any athletes out of the country. So at the moment, the safest place to be is in Singapore. I think we're doing a good job. So the safest place is, we do have PAC-RIM in New Zealand in April. So at the moment that's still on, but being monitored closely.
So are you waiting for the DOSCON to go back from orange to yellow before you can?
Before we go to PAC-RIM, it's really just assessing what's happening in New Zealand. When we discussed it and did the go-ahead the other week, there'd been no cases in New Zealand. Now there's been one or two. We'll monitor where we're going. So if New Zealand starts to get a little bit out of control, then we'll sit there and assess that.
But in terms of like your Singapore-based events, like your championships and your awards dinner, if it's back to yellow, would you be able to go ahead with it, or you still have to just still
good question. National Champs is September, so we're hoping by September we're back to yellow. And the awards dinner, we'll scale it down on a bit of a smaller scale, and we'll just have an awards function, and we'll schedule that. I've actually booked. I've got 3 or 4 bookings each month already booked. So as soon as it drops, we'll run that. So we're just trying to move through it. It's actually just means you have to be on your A game. You're monitoring things. We've got staff business continuity plans, so half the staff are in and half the staff are out, so we can make sure business as usual. But we're a pretty connected team. We've got go-to meeting, we have meetings, so it's actually not that hard really to keep on going. It's making sure the environment for the athletes, as we said, Bishan, the boys are in a centre where there's a lot of other people. We don't have control. So at OCBC we have more control, and at CCAB we have control. But at Bishan, for us, making sure that we keep our athletes safe.
Okay. Terry, we are already 3 months into a brand new decade. What are you working on at the moment in gymnastics?
As Karen mentioned, there's the Brazilian competition in April, the World Cup. So looking at having a top 5 finish. And the float size involved. I've been fine-tuning my execution, so my landings, trying to stick them, and also trying to learn a few more difficult skills like the vault. I'm actually learning a backward triple twist and a front double somersault on the vault. So yeah, looking at upping my difficulty, but at the same time fighting my execution, so to be able to place closer towards that top 3 podium finish score.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, when you competed at the SEA Games, you would have competed alongside Carlos Yulo, who is the world champion in Artistic Gymnastics. So watching the Filipino star perform, what did you take away for yourself?
Wow, yeah, that was quite an experience.
Yeah.
I guess the 2 things I took away were to be humble, because he's so young at that age. I think he's the youngest world champion on the floor. Yeah, so he's so humble. That's the first thing I got.
Yeah.
But the second is to stay hungry. So he still works towards his goals, which ultimately is the Olympics. Yeah, but so it's easy to be distracted. You know, wow, home crowd, they're already chanting his name like, Yulo.
Yeah,
You could hear it. It's deafening.
I was there.
Yeah.
I was like, I didn't know about Yulo until at that very moment.
So yeah, you leave it ringing in your ears, but yeah, he still stays humble and he is focused. It's not distracted by the paparazzi or all of that, which is very admirable.
Yeah. You competed 5 years ago when we hosted the SEA Games in Singapore. Was the crowd support here at the gymnastics events? Did those events have that same electrifying atmosphere as in Manila? In other words, did our Singapore fans show up to support our gymnasts in 2015?
Well, they didn't chant our names with a deafening scream. But one thing's for sure, they came down in the halls to support us. So like from family members, it was very encouraging to see people that I didn't even recognize. Like members of the public say, hey, good job. And yeah, they actually came up to affirm the effort that you put in, because like Karen mentioned, it's like a build-up of decades of preparation. I don't just go for the SEA Games like to train 1 or 2 years or even months. I've been looking at the SEA Games since I was a kid. Maybe when I was like 8, so I finally hit SEA Games when I was 18. So that took at least a decade. So looking forward is just very encouraging. Like you asked, you had to see both faces that I recognized and didn't recognize. Yeah.
Okay. Karen nodded, as the GM of Singapore Gymnastics, what are your expectations of Terry in 2020 and possibly next year as well at the SEA Games in Vietnam?
Yeah, Terry is an amazing role model, and one of the things that I learned from the SEA Games, that it's been my second, is there's a lot of athletes who go, I just want to get to SEA Games, and then they quit, and they think that's the ultimate. They aspire to that, and one of the things for having Terry around is he aspires to more than one SEA Game. It's a continuous SEA Games, and his role modelling is amazing. So, and the men's culture is a product of all these guys getting together and making sure the younger ones realise it's not just one SEA Games, it's Asian Games, it's Asian Championships. You can get there, but you've got to work hard, and they're very respectful. For Terry, it is about him consolidating, getting a few more, getting his D score up. So it's definitely he was competitive at last year at SEA Games, but making sure it's beyond a doubt competitive. And I think just this year it's consolidating, getting through some of the monkeys on his back that he's had on. For some of the key events, Terry's been working really hard through that. So I'm really excited to see what he's going to show us next year in Vietnam.
Okay. Terry, we'll let you have the last say before we bring in your national teammate, Sze En, who's been waiting eagerly to speak to us. So what are your plans for your gymnastics career, say for the next 1 to 3 years?
As mentioned, I'm graduating next year in May, so it's actually pretty fast. But I hope to train towards Asian Games and Commonwealth Games in 2022. So I hope to be able to ease into my working life and everything else. So a lot of distractions along the way that I see upcoming. Actually, no, not distractions, but this is a life-based thing. But how do I accommodate these things well into the plans that are already there? Yeah, so that's the challenge.
All the very best, Terry. And Terry's going to leave us for now. We'll be joined by his teammate together with Harriet, and Karen nodded. We'll be back in just a few moments. Welcome back to episode 16 of SG Sports Uncut. Today we're profiling Singapore Gymnastics. We're delighted to have now Tan Sze En. Karen, perhaps you can say a few words about Sze En. I mean, for those who are still not familiar with her.
She's an amazing young woman who has really made sure she can achieve her dreams. So about 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago, she left Singapore so she could achieve the dream of the Olympics. It's what's driven her all along. She's trained really hard before she left Singapore, but she realised that she had to do something if she was going to make it. It was driven by her, not by her parents, but they certainly supported her all the way. She's a quiet achiever. She's not someone that, she's not vocal and she's not loud, but she's that really determined, quiet achiever. I think she's a great role model for some of the other younger athletes to see if you really dedicate something, you can achieve it.
Okay. So then we finally managed to get you onto the show, as you were supposed to appear 5 months ago in the build-up towards the SEA Games. You sustained an injury back then, which ruled you out of the Manila Games altogether. So tell us what happened back then.
I was on my last event of the day during my last routine, and I think I was pretty tired that day, but I was gonna push through, and then I was going for my dismount and I was kind of off center and I didn't get the takeoff that I needed, so I under rotated and didn't finish my twist and kind of landed sideways, so I injured my knee.
So, but it wasn't a muscle tear, it was...
It was okay, it was pretty minor.
Okay. How much of a disappointment for you was it to miss out on the SEA Games in Manila?
I was pretty disappointed given that I'd already missed out on the SEA Games before that due to another injury, but I think things happen for a reason and it was just setting me up for a bigger comeback. Okay.
Did you feel that you had prepared enough to possibly win a medal at the SEA Games that you actually were meant to compete in? Which event was this?
I was going to compete all around, and yeah, I felt pretty well prepared. I did take a little break after the World Championships because my body needed it, but leading up to the SEA Games I felt really well prepared and my body was in good shape. So I think I did have a chance at the all-around uneven bars and maybe beam, depending on whose day it was, yeah.
Okay. Coach Harriet, when you heard the news of her injury more than 6 months ago, what went through your mind?
I was present when it happened, so yeah, that's always a big disappointment if somebody gets injured, and by seeing it, it was clear to me it was an injury that will take more than 1 or 2 days to recover. So, and then that's the way I always handle injuries. I try to get as fast as possible everybody who has knowledge about it working for us, and I'm pretty positive about how they taken it. Sorry, but I always directly change my mind up to how can I get this girl as fast as possible, being ready for her next goal. So that's what I did afterwards.
When the injury happened, were you concerned that it might have also wrecked her chances of competing at the Tokyo Olympics this coming July?
Yeah, in the beginning it was a bit unsure, but after a few days it was clear it was not a really big injury taking months to recover. So in this sense I was relieved.
Okay. Congratulations, by the way, for becoming the first gymnast from Singapore in 7 years to qualify for the Olympics.
Thank you.
It's been 5 months since that qualification, so what's going on in your mind right now as we count down to Tokyo 2020?
I mean, I guess preparations aren't really going as planned with the whole COVID-19 and the injuries, but I'll just take it in my stride and take it one day at a time and focus on what I can control and try not to worry about the uncontrollables.
So even if the games might be deferred by 3 months or 6 months?
We'll work it out, yeah.
Okay. I understand that you're back in Singapore, having finished high school?
Yeah.
So what's next after high school for you?
As of right now, I'm just training full-time to try to get ready for the Olympics, and then after the Olympics, I'll be heading to Stanford to start my college.
Okay. You were previously training at the Legacy Elite Gymnasium in the United States. How much of a difference is it training over there and here? Is the caliber of the coaches, the standard of your teammates perhaps a big difference? Or?
I would say the biggest difference is the schooling, because my school gave me a lot of flexibility in my hours, so I only did half days in school and then I did the rest of my classes online, which allowed me to train more hours. As for coaches, we have a great coach now. I'm really happy to work with Coach Harriet. And I think for teammates, it was a different mindset over there. They were more just like chuck it and then see how it goes, but here we're more risk adverse and we like to be more careful. So yeah, it's just a different mindset.
Okay. Harriet, what do you reckon Sze En has to work on for the next couple of months?
Well, the goal now is to get all her routines on a competition level. Yeah, being injured means you always have to adjust your training. Now she's more or less 100% recovered, and then we start up to build the depth of routines. That means more routines, more competition-oriented routines, step by step. That's what we're doing for the time being.
Okay. Do you feel that she's got a great support system here, enough to get her fully ready for the campaign in Tokyo? Or do you reckon she still needs a short training stint overseas or a competition perhaps?
No, the situation she is in an ideal situation, having no school issues, so she can train as much as she wants. We'll switch over to a double session in a few weeks, because now I'm building up condition, physical strength, etc., etc. If she needs a competition, well, I will discuss with Sze En. If she thinks she needs one, we'll find one. If she thinks she doesn't need, we'll do some internal tests. So we will find some situations where we can see what her level is at the time being.
Karen, in the likely event there aren't any warm-up overseas competitions, are you just going to send Sze En straight to the Olympics?
Probably, yeah, because it's absolutely her health that we're looking at, and I know we've discussed it off and on for a couple of weeks where we'd go. We think we're the safest here, and she can continue her training uninterrupted. If we go somewhere else, she might have to stay at home, or her training starts to get restricted. So we've got all the medical people that we need and the support. We don't want to be away from that. So I know she's pretty comfortable if we do go straight to the Olympics. We've got judges here. We can put her under pressure. You can assimilate things. You can make the noises. You can do a whole heap of things that make it feel like under pressure. So we'll do that. Singapore Open is in June. We probably, even if it's not an international event, we'll still hold more of a local event, and that will be a good way of getting out any of the cobwebs that may be there. She's done a few competitions now, so sometimes it's not competitions, it's more about the mindset. And for us, she's doing a lot of work. We've got a great psych team. So the support of just making sure you do feel comfortable not doing what you normally do is probably more about it than actually physically doing it.
Okay. So then you had remarkable results at the World Champs last year, which helped you to qualify for the Olympics. So without any probable major warm-up events, do you see that as a major disadvantage to your chances at the Games, even though we might be able to simulate similar scenarios here?
I don't see that as a disadvantage. I guess, well, you can see it both ways, but if that were the case, I would just take it as an advantage, because then I can save my body for Tokyo instead of having to go increase my training load to prepare for competitions and then come back down slightly. So it's more of a level increase instead of like going up and down.
Okay. You've been back in Singapore a few months already. Have you seen changes in the gymnastics community or the younger athletes that are coming through the ranks?
It's a new crop of athletes coming up that I'm not very familiar with, because I didn't train with them in the past, and my old teammates have moved on to do other things now. So yeah, I'm excited to see where they go.
With your training over in the United States, what are one or two components that you feel we could also implement here in Singapore?
I don't really think it's about the training. I think it's more about the support around it and the schooling system. So if high performance athletes could have a more flexible schooling schedule, I think that really benefit.
Okay. Alright then, we are almost at the tail end of today's discussion. Karen, perhaps a few words on youth development and how is the Active SG Gymnastics Academy coming along? You touched this earlier in the show.
Yeah, we're really excited that the first one will be up and running in April. And as I said, we'll be going, aim is to do 14 by the end of March 2021, which is pretty ambitious, but we think our clubs are ready. We've got some good coaches. Our education framework that we've developed over the past 2 years will ensure that we've got enough of the workforce and we can roll it out. We actually partner with Republic of Polytechnic in delivering our fundamentals course. So having all of those sort of things in place, we've done a lot of work on the ground to make sure we can roll it out quite quickly. We've quality assurance with our clubs, and also we've rolled out a child commitment statement, so all our clubs are signing up to that.
Okay.
So we're pretty excited about the future for the academies.
In terms of community and public engagement, what are your planned programs for the rest of the year?
As we said, Singapore Open is definitely one that we were going to be featuring and promoting, maybe some other Olympians that were coming along because we invited them, but trying to get the public on board and come and see Sze En. because it is an Olympian. You don't get to see that in your home on home soil very often. We've got national championships in September now, so we'll do that. But we've got a lot of participation events that we're still hoping to run. So we've got our Gym Fest, which is in November, and we'll be launching a new type of gymnastics program called Team Gym. It has adult gymnasts, ex-gymnasts, any gymnast. It's recreational, and you come out and you perform and have a good time. So we're really trying to get into participation at a level that we can encourage more people on board.
Nice. Coach Harriet, what will you be working on with your artistic trainees in 2020?
Well, first goal, of course, Sze En, getting her to the Olympics. Second is our juniors. They will change over to seniors in a year or 2 years. And I want them to be competitive at this age on a senior level. And thirdly, we're in the process of bringing in a bunch of new kids, young kids, 8, 9, 10 years old, and I hope to build them up. And the last is I hope to build a more open relation to clubs, because based on CCAB, and have not that many contacts with clubs, and I hope to be able to make this better.
Okay. And if you had the chance to wish for one thing for gymnastics this year to change, what would it be?
Let's have a talk about school.
School, yeah. The structure, right?
Yeah,
the tree,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, okay. So then, this is a historic year for you. How do you plan to see it through?
Just one day at a time and enjoy the journey.
Okay. What's next for you after the Olympic Games?
I'll be starting college in Stanford.
Okay. So Karen, we'll let you have the final word. But as we know, last week in Parliament, it was announced for further collaborations between the MOE as well. Gymnastics is one of the 10 sports that I think primary school students would now have greater access to the sport. So taking that as well, what is your final message to the public as the General Manager for Singapore Gymnastics?
Gymnastics is the foundation of all sports, and like our tagline is start here, go anywhere. So start here. You can go into any other sport at a high performance level. You can go to the Olympics, but you can actually just have better health. And there's so much documentation around and research around about if you have good fundamental skills, you continue to be healthy and participate in any type of sport for life. And I think that's the part that we'll be partnering with Active SG, Sport SG and Coach SG on making sure we can deliver to the schools. And our club system is really important to us, and coach education. So they're the two things that we're really striving to continue to grow. It's about sustainability. We could go into primary schools quite quickly, but it's making a sustainable model that looking around the world, what does work in all the other places around the world when you go into schools or go into kindergartens, the club system is what works, because then there's a pathway. So it's okay to go into schools and have that one-touch awareness program, but where do they go after that? You want them to have a pathway, and you need the club system to be able to support that. So we're really excited about our partnership with Active SG, and I know I did hear what the Minister said, and we're excited, and I know we've spoken to the CEO about partnering.
Okay, on that note, Karen Norden, Tan Sze En, Coach Harriet Beltman, thank you very much for appearing on SG Sports Uncut. We wish you and all your athletes, including Terry, who was in the show earlier on, the very best for the sport and in your respective careers as well. Thank you very much for coming on board SG Sports Uncut.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And you just heard from our friends from Singapore Gymnastics. Let's hope for the very best for our athletes, the public and the stakeholders that are involved in the sport for the next few years. Well, if you have any concerns about today's show, feel free to drop us an email at sgsportsuncut@gmail.com. Till the next time, I'm Raj Kumar. Bye for now.